Strokes are a leading contributor to adult deaths and disabilities, with disease prevalence and burden having increased greatly from the 1990s up to today. Part of the problem is that many stroke patients today still leave their treatment and rehab regimens with some level of a permanent disability. And the thing is, our own brains might be partly to blame. You see, in our brains surrounding our neurons exist these specialized structures. Think of these structures like a sort of birdcage. So normally in a healthy brain, this birdcage is generally protective. So it promotes stability, it helps clean up bad proteins, and it even prevents bad abnormal connections from forming between your neurons. Now this is all fine and dandy. However, in a brain injury, like say a stroke, this birdcage becomes more restrictive, and this environment now becomes detrimental to your neurons. You see, in a stroke, some neurons inevitably die, but some affected neurons can be saved if they get the right support quickly enough. And the thing about this birdcage becoming more restrictive is that these hinder these neurons from getting that proper support. Because of being more restrictive, it prevents growth, it prevents repair, it prevents these neurons from making new connections that could potentially help the patient recover after a stroke. Essentially, this birdcage is hindering your brain's own ability to repair itself. Sure, one idea that people have had would be to get rid of this birdcage altogether. However, you don't necessarily want to get rid of this birdcage because, remember, they're generally protective and they're there for a reason. However, this brings me to my research, which is on this protein called PTN. PTN is a fascinating little protein that does many, many different things all over your body, but what we're interested in is how it interacts with this birdcage in your brain. You see, what our lab has found is that PTN can talk to this birdcage and change this restrictive environment into one permissive for growth. And what's even more exciting is that in my own research, I have found giving this protein to a mouse brain after a stroke leads to an increase in pathways conducive to growth and repair, allowing for these neurons to grow, to rewire, and make new connections that could potentially help in recovery after a stroke. Essentially, in this sense, PTN is acting kind of like a key that lets your neurons spread its wings out for a bit. Now, this work is exciting for two reasons. One, in learning more about PTN's role after a stroke, we are hoping that it can help supplement current stroke therapies and improve the overall functional recovery of patients down the line. Secondly, this approach on repair and rewiring can potentially be applied to other treatment paradigms for other brain injuries and disorders. And this is all important work because in learning more about promoting growth and uncaging our brains, we're working to help the brain help itself. Thank you.